Welcome to WO50, where women over 50 embody wisdom and wellness.
Yes, I think we sure do. My name is Corrine, and I'm here with my BFF, Eddi. And today our topic is the family tapestry, unraveling the past to weave a stronger future.
Yeah, because history never gets old.
Eddi came up with that just herself. And the
No, it came from
importance
somewhere, I'm sure.
Yes, it's the importance of looking back in order to move forward as we get older and not to have grievances, like to heal those as we're getting older, having compassion for people that have been in our lives, and whether it was our parents or grandparents or whoever is in our family history, our ancestors.
Check in with our elders.
Because we're becoming elders.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
I think we're not becoming. We already are.
I guess so.
Like my dad. I'm not a senior. It's like, yeah, you are.
Or like your grandchild called you the pony grandmother.
No, the puppy.
The puppy, pony. Pony, puppy.
Pony, puppy.
Potato.
Tomato. Great to see you.
We hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello, Ken. How are you doing today?
I'm very, very good. So happy to see you in a t-shirt today and not a big sweatshirt all bundled up.
It's a good sign, isn't it? It's a good sign. It is July.
It is July 1st. It's Canada Day.
It is.
Wow.
Canada Day. It's Canada Day.
By the time we post this, it'll probably be middle to late July, but we are shooting this on.
Yeah, every July day 1st. Is like Canada Day, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how I feel about all of it. Mother's Day, Father's Day, what other day there is. Yeah. I feel like we just honor everybody
to be
every day.
Alive and honor everybody and all our connections.
Mm-hmm. And our families, honoring our families. We'll move right into our topic today. So the topic today is the family tapestry, unraveling the past to weave a stronger future. So we got this idea by, I was listening to Jane Fonda's, which is so good. If you have not watched this before, it's on HBO Max, and it's called The Fifth Act. And it's Jane Fonda documentary of her life. Kind of goes along with the book, her book that came out about maybe 4 years ago called My Life So Far. She's written about 5 books, but this is the newest one, 4 years old now. And it's just so good. And she talks, I kind of put it to the part where she was talking about understanding her past. And she's like, we can't move forward and embrace getting older until we understand our past. And so I threw that out to Eddi, and she was like, yes.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And it's great. I watched her a while back on a TED Talk as well, and she talked about the 3 chapters of life, and she reflected on all that as well. So, and when you said that, I went, I'm going to go over and have a chat with my mom and just kind of dig into our ancestry a little bit, because I am working on this book, right, about her life and her children and all this kind of stuff, all of us. And I thought this would be a great opportunity. And then my older sister showed up, Alverna, and that turns into a show. So, I mean, if we had taped it, it would be a great TED Talk.
So what did you guys talk about? She got into the conversation of your family as well?
Yeah. So I used the opportunity to really kind of get mom kind of thinking back to our grandparents and on her side, her mother and father and her connections and aunts and uncles, and then dad's side. And then started to who in all of the children did she see any familiarity? Like, did she, when she looked at each of us, the talents, or was there anything passed down? Was there anything that stands out in any of her kids, that reminds her of any of the relations, right? The relatives. And my sister right away goes, my name's Alverna, and Aunt Alverna. I said, you're identical to her. And that's how the conversation started, because she's so much like her, to the point that years ago they pulled out the same lipstick out of their pocket. I mean, one of them's 80, the other one's, not. It's her aunt.
Just in case Alberta's listening.
She'll probably listen. I told her we talk about her all the
Yeah.
time anyway.
Yeah.
So it was really fun because she said, "Yeah, it's true. I'm a lot like her, like this gift of conversation, and that I can talk to anybody, and I've never met a stranger, and so it's really fun. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
about you?
Well, I mean, I don't have a huge connection or know a lot of my elderly. I think I'd mentioned that on a podcast before. I didn't really know many elderly people. I knew one of my grandmothers quite well. But even she, she passed away in my 20s and wasn't close to them. But I do work with a lot of people that have issues with their parents, either their mother or
Mhm.
their father. And what I try to heal that first, or as an ongoing sort of backlight as we're doing some work together. Because if we're holding a grudge and blaming somebody in our life, like a parent, there's just that's going to affect us and kind of stay in victim mode a little bit too. I want to try to get people into being empowered and having compassion for their parents, no matter how bad they were. I remember I learned a lot of good techniques from that through Tony Robbins, and he was like, "You have the parents who you have.
Yeah.
Everybody who has parents that are not great or were raised in very difficult situations, they sort of look and they almost can see that everybody else or most people had the ideal parents. But even people that had look on the outside like they have an ideal parents, there's always issues in there. And
Mhm.
even people that try to raise their kids perfectly, I joke with my sister all the time. It's like your kids are going to still find something to work on, even though hopefully we're more conscious parents now.
Yes.
It's still, you got to have something to work out, I guess, in life. So really, and then what Jane Fonda had said is that, she was told because her mom died when she was like 10 or something like that. And she was told that her mom had died of a heart attack, and her mom actually had committed suicide in a hospital. And
Mm.
when she found that out, she always blamed herself and thought her mother didn't like her. And then finally, I think she was in her late 20s, early 30s, maybe later than that, actually, when she commissioned the hospital records. And in there, her mother wrote like a little memoir about her
Mhm.
life. So she was able to have so much healing by understanding her mother more and having compassion for her. And I think it's so important too, because we just see our parents as like this one dimensional as our parents, but they are
Mhm.
people. They were raised by parents. They had their heartaches and heartbreaks and dreams and desires. And I think it's not until people get older that they realize that their parents had all those other things as well. And that's part of the cycle of life, is understanding that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's just having the conversation of even going back to mom's upbringing, was a bit different. And we'll talk about it as I move through the book. But I look at, what she looks back on. And as we're talking about it today, just some of the things where she got some clarity on it, because even my older sister was sitting there going, well, grandma so and so, she was single mom raising all these kids, and then the youngest one goes and is really young and has a child, and that child's you, and she raised you as her own, yet you're raised, like the youngest of the family. And I mean, it was unbelievable. And mom was like, yeah, that's true. I never really thought about it like that. Like, she was a hardworking woman, and she treated me well, and she could have been really upset at me. And here's my mom now, almost 90, and she's getting clarity around that. And I'm sitting there going, this is a really great conversation to be having. Like, um, you know, and even with my sister, her sharing some things she's going through, and then I end up sharing some things. So, we're all doing this weaving, right? It's this family weaving of stories and sharing, and then we're letting down the judgment that we
And the
all think everyone
blaming.
has. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the blaming and naming game, and we just go, we're doing the best we can. We did the best with what we know. Now, we have children and grandchildren, and we're doing our best with them. And we're sharing our stories where years ago they didn't share. They saw some of the elders struggling, but now the struggles with society, there's social media, and there's so much, right? And gosh, yeah, we could go down the rabbit hole with it. And we go
Mm-hmm.
back to, how did our elders do it? They didn't even have the quick stuff.
Yeah, I joke with that with some of my younger clients all the time. I'm like, you have so much on you, your nervous system, your poor little nervous system, because I used to have to go to home to check my messages,
Yeah.
you know, and I
Yeah,
used to
and for
have
them
to,
it's instant, right? It's
yeah,
instant.
everything's instant, and you have to get back to people. Like there's all these rules about if texting and thumbs up, and again, and even now I was listening to a podcast the other day when they're talking about the color of the hearts makes a difference, and I'm like, I don't
Oh,
know, I just
wow.
send different ones that I feel. I don't know that there's a meaning for somebody else to it, and they went into all these different meanings of it.
Oh my God, there's myself and my daughter were driving in the car the other day, and I saw these bumper stickers, and then there was this pineapple thing sitting on top of an antenna. And I'm like, what the heck is that doing? She goes, Mom, don't. I was like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I just don't want to know.
Were you even curious?
No, I don't want to know. Nope, don't want to. Just another thing to know. And nope, don't want to. Nope, that's it. Nope,
That's
not
funny.
about that. It's funny, I know. Another day, another time. I had enough to deal with that day, so I'm like, okay, we'll,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of like that thing we talk about a lot with how when you're communicating with somebody, how whatever I know, like right now, I know whatever comes out of my mouth is not going to be received by you or by who's listening in the way that I really mean it. Because we all have our language, we have what mood we're in, we have our different stories, but also our education and the books we've read, our references. The mind wanders for a minute, we catch a part of the story. And so we do that with our families a lot too. And so we assume a lot of things about our family, and you know and that's why there's and you get together at Thanksgiving or Christmas or something, and there's some people that don't look forward to it, or there's the usual things that happen, usual bickering that happens, whatever. And if we can show up more clean without the story, and more in just openness of what's happening in the moment and who they are today rather than who they were yesterday, then
Yeah.
it's like Alea says, then you're living life being alive.
Mm-hmm.
You were honest with your daughter about how you were feeling in the moment and what you could take in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a Santa bag full of emotions beyond it. Was just how you were honestly feeling in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
if we can do that, the more and more we can do that, the less baggage we're carrying and also adding to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's day to day, it is day to day. It's you're right. It's where you are in that moment, like even today, sitting down and talking about some of this ancestry and digging deep. And if mom wasn't receptive or was having a really tough day, it wouldn't have the conversation wouldn't have gone the way it went. It went really well. Or if everyone was digging up old past things and trying to resolve them, right? There's not, it's still stuck. And
Mm-hmm.
there was really beautiful movement today, which is beautiful, right? It's growth, and I
Mm-hmm.
love that. I love that. So I'm really glad we talked about doing this topic. And then I go to watch Happy News because we tape things every now and again, and I hadn't had the TV on in days, and I flicked it on, and the Sunday morning news there was this gal on talking about just getting older and tapping into our ancestry and staying in touch with our history. And a statement came into my head. um yeah, history. Oh, when we go back in time and we watch our family and friends get into things that maybe their aunts and uncles got into, well, history never gets old. It never gets old. So You
History
know,
repeats itself and it never gets old.
yeah,
Yeah.
and even with my brother, like my older brother, he went into the Navy when he was 16, and I'm like, "Mom, well, Dad wasn't in the Navy, but he worked on a ship, but who was in the Navy?" And she started going, "Oh, your great grandfather, my grandfather died at sea. He was, and I'm like, "Oh." And so we go, "Where is that love?" My brother loves the ocean. His houses are by the ocean, right? When he goes, it's like, where does that love come from? It's woven into our cells almost.
Mhm.
Sometimes
Mhm.
we can't explain why we want to be in a certain place on vacation. Like, where does that come from? You
Mhm.
know, it's so deep.
And I think it's especially easier to see when you live on an island like Newfoundland and you do have more history. Like you have a lot of family, you have a lot
Mm,
of history, you have a lot of relatives that you know really well. For me, it
mm,
was very different. I wasn't raised around everybody. I would hear the
mm,
same stories about the same people from my mom and dad, but I never really got to like I met my dad's aunts and uncles, like maybe met them 5 times, in my
mm.
whole life kind of
Yeah,
thing. And so I think when you are from an ancient culture like in Ireland or Scotland or in France, smaller countries, smaller towns and villages, and have that close knit family, it's sort of easier to figure out and have those rituals and the clearly that you can see, oh, this came from that person. I don't really have that.
yeah, that's true too. And a lot of people don't. And there's a lot of people like will go to, say, Europe or Ireland, say, for example. Like even when I went to Ireland, there was one county that I felt like I think I lived here before. I
Mm.
had this feeling that familiarity. And then we cut the corner, and my last name is there's a Kenny grocery store, there's a Kenny wool shop, I'm going, oh my gosh, this was probably my people.
That's so cool. I don't think you ever told me that.
No, yeah, I forgot to tell you that.
Yeah,
I took
that's so cool.
pictures. Yeah, it was really wild. I think it was Mayo County, right? And when I went into one of the stores and I said, I feel like you could be related to me. And they're like, where are you from? And I told them, they're like, we don't even know where that is. Newfoundland? No, no. And all us Newfoundlanders think, you go everywhere in the world and everybody knows where it is, but people don't.
No. No, no,
Yeah,
but it's a beautiful part of the world, beautiful
it
part of
is.
Canada.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you go back and you think, um, you know, about who you are and your roots, where do you go back to? Like they say in Newfoundland, who knit you?
Yeah. I always just felt very not connected to my family. I really
Yeah.
didn't. Didn't feel
Hmm.
connected to my roots, didn't feel connected to my family, left home, moved out. When I moved out at 17 to go to college, nobody was there to say goodbye to me. Nobody helped me pick the college. Nobody was there to help me move into my college dorm. I was very independent, from the time I was 11 when my parents got divorced. I kind of raised my sister.
Mm.
And so never really felt connected to my roots at all and just
Mm.
felt like little old me.
Like little,
Maybe why that's one of the reasons why I have such an insatiable search for more spiritual stuff to see beyond the physical earthly human stuff. What is it?
mm,
Because my questions were always since I was really little is why am I human? What is a thought? Why am I even here? What are we doing here on this planet? Like I was thinking that when I was 4. It didn't make sense to me what we were doing here.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting that, you know, I remember as a child thinking some thoughts like that, but then they're very vague now when look back at it because it's like all these downloads come in, all these experiences start happening, and I think we sometimes forget, right? We kind of lose, like
Mhm.
we spoke with Alea about, we lose that sense of self, but we don't lose
Mhm.
it. It's there. it just gets covered up like blankets, you know?
Yeah, yeah, the conditioning and the beliefs and the judgments and the expectations and the goals
And
take
what we
over.
think we're supposed to do
Yeah,
and be. And
yeah.
even I think both of us connected because I was like you. I had a passion, well, for music, right? And we traveled and met in Nashville. But initially I wanted to learn. I loved science and medicine, and you know it got me into nursing and doing the studies I do now. And I mean, I love to learn. But the travel piece for me, I really wanted to explore the world, you know?
Yeah, you wanted to get out of
I did.
Newfoundland.
Yeah, because I had read all these books and I knew there was so much more. And I felt kind of just really isolated here when I was younger. I felt like I wasn't growing, you know? And then I was away from here for most of my life, and until, what is it, 15 years now I'm back here in Newfoundland.
Wow.
Yeah. And I still want to travel, and uh, and I love it back here, but I still, you know, I'm not like my sisters where they feel rooted here. Like, and I love it here, but I don't know, I still am searching and doing that kind of digging deep,
That,
figuring it all out. Yeah.
yeah, that you may
Which
not want to live full time
Yeah, and being
there, maybe.
okay. Yeah, yeah, no,
Mhm.
maybe, like, we'll see, right? It's just being okay with the mystery of it. Like Letty says,
Yes.
stay
Yeah.
curious, be okay with the mystery. And
Yeah.
we don't need to figure it out. The mind just needs to know.
The mind wants to know. And as soon as you realize that, and the mind wants to know, and it's temporary, it's almost looking for a little whoopee for
Yeah,
many different things. And yeah, yeah, I have no idea how long I'll be in Nashville or where I'll be in
yeah.
5 years or 1 year. Like I don't know. And I'm totally fine with that.
Exactly. Same, same. And grounded, or someone says like, "Well, home, where is it?" It's like it's anywhere I feel it, right? Like it's, yeah, who knows? But it's kind of cool to kind of see your ancestors or feel them and see where the connections are. And here in Newfoundland and Labrador, we have a lot of indigenous, and there's Beothuk, and um, lots of First Nations and different beautiful beings. So I'm really even feeling all that presence out. Yeah,
But you
which
haven't
is great.
done your 23andMe or your
No,
ancestry.com to figure out if you have any of that blood in you. Because I
no, I
did it.
haven't.
I
Yeah.
did it maybe 5 years ago, just out
Okay.
of curiosity. They had a sale on the 23andMe. And
Yeah.
it's like, just like my mom always said, it's all Ireland, Scotland, and France. That's where we're all from. And I think I have like 2% in like Nordic, somewhere Nordic, but
Mhm.
that's it. Everything else is Ireland, Scotland. And they could even tell which village in Scotland. And there's
Really?
a town with the last name, the exact same spelling as mine, in just outside of Paris. And I felt the same thing you did, that you felt in Ireland. I felt on the Seine River in
Mm.
Paris the first time I went back in the year 2000. I was on my way back from the first time I went to India, stopped in Paris for 4 days, took a walk because the friend I went with was really sick. And so I was walking everywhere by myself, walked out onto the one of the many bridges on the Seine River, walked out, and I was just like, whoa, this is so familiar to me. But I didn't turn the corner and see my name. Although I did find my name on a wine bottle, because there's like a
Oh,
castle. It's a type of wine. My last name is a type, like a Cabernet Sauvignon kind of thing. It's a type of wine, and it's a castle, and it's a city in France, in just outside of
nice.
Paris.
Yeah, Champagny.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's a place here in Newfoundland called Champagny's East and Champagny's
Yeah, you
West.
sent me a picture of that sometime.
Yeah, but
Some, I think it was spelt differently.
it's spelled
Yeah,
EY, not just
yeah,
Y. Yeah,
yeah,
on
and it's
the
spelt the
end.
same in Paris. It's spelt exactly the same. So I'm pretty directly come from France, Irish, and Scotland, like 2 generations back.
Mm,
They came. Yeah.
that's
So it's,
great.
yeah, yeah, you have to do that genealogy thing
I
sometime.
will.
It's pretty interesting.
23 and
There's
me.
23andMe, and then there's, I think, Family Ancestry or something. There's a couple of different ones.
Yeah.
People are
Okay.
sometimes worried about their DNA being,
Oh,
hijacked and used and stuff. But you can check off if you want them to use it in studies or not, and then you can
oh,
just check no. Yeah.
It's just DNA. What are they going to clone me?
Who knows? You never know, but I
Good
think
luck
that'd be
with
kind of
that.
cool. But I think I think the most important thing really about this ancestry stuff, I mean, there's many important things about it, and it means different things to different people, but really healing the past and able to move forward. Like some people need to understand their roots more. I don't so much,
Mhm.
but I've done the healing that I needed to do with my mom and with my dad. Because those were the main caretakers in my life, and I didn't really have any issues with any other ancestors. But is yeah, just healing those relationships and any wounds that there might be. And you can do that by trying to understand their life, where
Mhm.
they came from, who raised them. One of the things I tell people is like, listen, your mother would have been raised by somebody that was born, depending on how old they are, say it's like a 30-year-old. Your mother would have been raised by somebody who was born in the 30s or the 20s. That's my parents. My parents was raised, but then my grandmother was raised by somebody born in the 1800s.
Yeah.
That's not very far back. And if
Yeah.
you've ever seen like 1923 or 1823, those,
Yeah.
those shows, it's like, man, it was the Wild West. It was pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And women didn't vote, and
No.
suffrage and all that in the early 1920s. And that was like our grandparents' age.
Yeah.
So that affected our parents, and then
Mm-hmm.
that dribbled down and affected us.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I remember watching my grandmother, my dad's mom, and I was named after both my grandmothers. And my grandmother lived to be 97, Elizabeth, and she raised 15 children. And honestly, up to not even months before she passed, she was chopping wood, stoking her own stove, making her own food, tending to her own house, like just amazing, like a big full life. And when I think back, to visiting her, my mother and father would always say, "Now go up now and visit your grandmother and just pop in." And I said, "But she doesn't speak. She doesn't talk to me, and I don't think she likes kids." And I'm going, "Well, I'd pop in and I'd sit the mandatory 15 minutes, and then she'd have her cup of tea and I would leave and bye, bye." And she would just, yep, nod her head and off I'd go. I'm like, I think back and go, she had so many kids and grandkids, and every one of her children had big families, right? Like, bless her heart, she probably didn't even know who I was coming through the door. So I'm not taking that personal. Like,
Yeah. Well, by the time she's 97 too, who knows? That's a lot of years on the planet. And not only, yeah, just all the kids and the grandkids. It's like that is just a lot of, and that's a lot of hard life too. Like
yeah,
your parents had a hard,
they
I
worked
had a
hard.
yeah, they did.
Yeah,
They were hard.
yeah,
I had a very interesting childhood just because of the nasty divorce and stuff, but you had your parents stayed together, but they yeah, worked very hard and had a lot of
yeah,
kids. Well, not a lot
yeah.
compared to
Well,
their
five of us,
families,
but
but
they
five
they
is a
did
lot.
work hard. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
my mom's 89. My dad died at 70, but and he'd be 93 now, which would be hard to believe.
Hmm.
And he never wanted to be called a senior. Like I would say, I would come home on visits, and I remember he was probably my age.
Hmm. You are
This is how
now.
long
Yep.
ago it is. Yeah.
Yep.
He's probably my age. And I'm like, "Dad, you're why don't you get involved in like something up at the senior center?" And he's like, "I am not a senior." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. What if one of your grandchildren said that to you now? Of
Yeah.
course, they
They call
wouldn't
me a
think.
puppy. Nana, you're a
Yeah.
puppy Nana. I'm like, "Oh,
You are.
okay."
That's
Yeah.
so true.
That's what
Yeah.
Oliver called me, my 9-year-old grandson. Nana, you're really a puppy Nana. I was like, "Oh, okay. Thank you for that, buddy."
Yeah. Their
Yeah.
their friends' grandparents probably look way different than you do.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. It's fun. They're fun. So they'll be checking in, going, am I like my grandmother, Eddie? My puppy Nana. They might be weaving the family, knitting the story.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that saying, "Who knit ya?"
Who knit
It's
ya?
really cute. Really
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Eddie and I just wanted to share the importance of, as we are getting older, to make sure you're healing, because your parents, we probably by our age, our grandparents are not alive anymore, most likely.
Mhm.
And our parents are older, and you and I both, just our mothers are left now,
Mhm.
and to heal those relationships and find out about your ancestors when you can, and anything you need to, that'll enhance your life going forward.
Yeah.
Any questions you have.
Yeah. It's a beautiful time to do it. And sometimes you just go, I'm glad I didn't wait to ask these questions. Like, I'm really glad I chose this time to gather the information, and my mom's here. And every day is a gift for all of us. I mean, there's people all ages who pass away. But when we're looking back and trying to kind of dig a little deep and just find things, characteristics or things that help us grow.
Mm-hmm.
If we got access to uh, kin, parents, grandparents, relatives, friends, just to have a little conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's really nice uh, to check in with our elders. Our elders are so important, and we need to honor their lives and how they've lived and the knowledge, the wisdom that they get to share, right?
Yeah, and elders that live in your neighborhood too. My friend Scotty was just telling me, which, by the way, he's working on a song for us. We're looking for
Yay.
an original song for our, even though we have an original song for our intro, it's one of my old songs that's the loop in the front. And you and I wanted to theoretically write a song for our theme song, but that hasn't happened yet. So
Mm-hmm.
my friend Scotty, who did the one for Turning Point's a great musician. He is working on. So he called me the other day to get a little more info and to get it right, the vibe and everything. And he was telling me about his neighbor who's older, and his kids and grandkids, they don't live anywhere near him. And they're, he loves spending time with their kids, and they're always checking on him, and they've got, each other's phone numbers and stuff. And it's just a really nice relationship.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's great for kids too. Like, I bring my grandkids over to visit my mom, every time they're with me, usually. And it's important that I feel it's important anyway that they get to know her, and she enjoys them because she doesn't have the discipline. She's the one gets to give them the treat that I'm not giving them. The
Oh, you
chocolate
give him
covered chip. I'm
yeah.
giving them strawberries. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
you dip it in dark chocolate now, and we go in and we make our own chicken nuggets. And mom's got all the come here. They're like, can we look in her cupboard? I'm like, uh, oh gosh, here we go. Of course you
Yeah, it's
can.
fun. And
So
those would be
it
great
is.
memories when your mom is gone. They'll be great memories for them, that they had
Absolutely.
her, knew her. That's pretty special that they have a great grandma.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just think about that. How many, we're living this long now to have another generation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Alive at the same time we are. Like, really? I have 4 generations: my
Yeah.
mom, me, my daughter, and my granddaughter.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
It is something.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ed. It's fun as always. We've got a couple ones in the hopper because I know it's summer and it's getting busy, and so but I've got lots to post,
Mm-hmm.
and I apologize if I've missed a Friday or two in
It's
the past
okay.
year and a half that we've been doing it. People will text me and like, "Where's the episode?" And I'm like, "Oopsie."
That's good. I'm glad because it's
Yeah,
nice to hear
yeah.
from our listeners.
We love
And
hearing from our listeners, and we appreciate you sharing. And yeah, we love doing this. I love you, Ed. I love you
I
so
love you
much, and I
too.
love doing this with you.
Same. And we've got a lot of history weaved together now, 40 years of a great friendship. So, yeah, it's good.
Yep. 40
Thanks,
more.
everyone.
Here's to 40 more.
That'll put us at 100. Woo, I think we could do it.
Why not?